Okay, with the filmmaking team of Rosalind short film play at the LGBTQ plus film festival. Veronica, who is the director, and then we have Sandra, who is the writer producer of the film. Really interesting film, a lot of nuance about caregiving. It kind of went one way, and then it was like different, like I said, nuance, very different directions, and kind of stories that we didn't see before. I think that a lot of us have been caregivers firsthand, or we've seen from an outside perspective of it, when like a parent or when someone close to us is unfortunately sick, and we see it from an outside perspective. Really great story. I'm curious about that's my long-winded pitch to your film. I'm curious about where you guys came up with this idea.
Um,
I'll let you go.
well, it's not completely based on a true story, but it's based on my experience of taking care of my partner while she was dying.
Okay.
Um, and
And she told me about the story when
mhm.
I moved to Atlanta in 2010. And she wanted that to be her directorial debut. And I was like, well, we got to give it a little inspiration. Otherwise, people will just go commit Harry Carey afterward. So that's when I added the character Phoebe so that it could give a balanced perspective of the patient who wants to keep their independence and the
Yeah.
caregiver who needs to also take care of themselves, which was what Veronica found out firsthand.
Yeah, it was. I wish I had a Phoebe.
Okay.
I really do. After watching it, everybody wanted to know the people that are around us if that character was real, and I said, no, that was the imagination of my wife, Sandra.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because unfortunately, my mother-in-law um, was in the hospital with cancer, and we were in the hospital ward for a long time, and I was observing a lot of like people bringing the caregivers, bringing their their persons, or like the husbands, wives, etc., to the hospital, and I'm seeing these really kind of like divisive relationships, because they spent so much time with each other, and there's so much anxiety and so much stress, and it's like, and you kind of need a mediator, and kind of like someone who has perspective, because it's like these two people are like 24/7, obviously lack of sleep,
Yeah,
stress of like living and dying, like all these factors that take place, and there's no perspective, right? Because he's like, I love this story, because I totally what I thought to this right away, because I remember this is like 8 years ago. I remember thinking like, oh my God, these relationships are going to explode
Right.
because they're so like, and then you guys made this film. I think it's amazing.
thank
Oh, thank
you.
you so much. That's why we dedicated it to our friend Teresa
Mhm.
Yarborough, because that's what happened to her almost like literally right after, maybe a month or so after taking care of her mom for several years, then she died.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunately a very high statistic of caregivers.
Mhm.
Predominantly, 80% of all caregivers are female,
Yeah.
and a high percentage of those women die after their person, whoever they've been caring for, passes.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's a very, very high statistic. And near the end, a lot of the nurses would always say to me, "Make sure you take care of yourself." And I was a mess. I looked really bad. Um, uh, so I kept, well, why are you saying that to me? Well, and then they finally were telling me about these statistics. And then in the hospital, they were on one of their screens. There was some statistics, and it really caught me. I was like, I had no idea. And I was like, that's why all those nurses keep telling me, you know, you have to take care of yourself, have somebody come in and give yourself a day, go stay, but I did not. And
Yeah.
I definitely suffered for that, because it was as in the movie, it was 9 years of her being terminal, and it just was not good. So it took
No.
me quite a few years to regain my health, and all the energy and to even sleep correctly. And
Yeah.
I still
I,
kind of
yeah.
sleep correctly, but I'm getting there.
So like what do you know what people like what the caregivers die of? It's like they just they're run down so then like they're more immune
They're
to
run down.
They're run
yeah.
down.
They're not going to doctor's appointments. They're not eating correctly.
Physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
They're not sleeping correctly.
Yeah.
Or something happens, as in Teresa's case, our friend. She knew something was going on with her, and she'll like, I'll go to the doctor after my, because she knew her mom was going to
Yeah.
transition soon. So she kept putting off. But she knew something wasn't right with her.
Yeah.
Because literally I saw her, um, hadn't seen her because we used to do lunch all the time, and I hadn't seen her in at least a couple of years. We'd talk on the phone,
Yeah.
and every time we'd scheduled to get together, she would cancel. But when I finally did see her, literally, she was sick. Oh, I have the flu. And within a week, she was dead.
Wow.
So,
And then it consumes your life and then you like you all you lose are your hobbies, everything you're passionate about.
yeah.
Yeah. It's you I know it's surprising that there's not more, I guess because the subject's so dire and so sad, but there's not more films about this because it's so common.
Yeah,
Right.
it was shocking. It was shocking, when I saw that statistic just pop up. Of course, I was in the cancer wing,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but it really caught me off guard. Like, oh, I didn't know that, but then it really kind of made sense because my world, 24/7
Yeah.
Yeah.
was her. So
I mean, people have been asking us, like, are you guys going to make it a feature? And, and all that. And we hadn't really thought about it, but it seems to be resonating, you
Yeah.
know.
No, like I said, it resonated to me 100% just from a secondhand perspective on many levels. It's almost like there needs to be like two people to do it, right? So
Mhm.
like or at least three, like there needs to be shift work, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's
I was
real.
gonna say that or someone they can pay some, but then they're not the medical professions and they're always worrying about budgets and stuff like that. They don't care about the caregiver, I guess, per se, right?
Right.
So even though long term they would help because like you said, it causes more just from a practical level, it causes more sicknesses, it causes more depression and like I said, in mortality rates, but that's a big picture perspective, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
yeah,
They did have at the hospital that we would go to, which was Emory. They did have classes and things that
yeah,
I could have went to while she was doing her chemo,
gotcha.
but the chemo ward, it looks like an airport. I mean, it's just bays
Yeah,
and bays of the chairs but there would be nobody to help her, if she needed to use the restroom. There was
yeah,
nobody there. I didn't have anybody to fill in for me to go, okay, I'm going to go take that yoga class, or I'm going to just go, do this breathing class.
yeah.
And then it was so far from our house because it was quite a trek, every week, that I just wasn't able to. There wasn't enough, in my area, or of time to be able to do something like that, to take a breath, and walk away.
But even if you had time to take a breath, I'm sure you just want to sleep or you want to do something fun, right? Like you don't want to go to some therapy class, right? So you know what I mean, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the film itself. Obviously you shot in a it looks like a hospital, so I don't know if you shot in a hospital, but let's talk about your locations because they're very realistic. They're the essence of your film. So I'm just curious about where you guys found your locations.
That was one location.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
one house.
That was one huge house, just different
Oh,
rooms
gotcha.
Yeah.
and an awesome crew.
Yeah. The show that I had been working on, the line producer and I became, very close, and I told him about the short film we were going to be making. He read the script and he said, "Hey, I'm going to call the owner of the house that we shoot at, and because we were using it for like a little private school. He said, I'm going to talk to him. He said, they're selling. So, maybe they'll, you know, be interested in just letting you use it. So he called and the owner said yes. And we went over there and kind of oddly enough, the foyer area and part of the stairwell looked very, very similar to my house. So it was when I first walked in, I was like, ooh, because I hadn't seen that section because the area that we used for the school was in the back.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so they were quite generous with us, and we shot it in a weekend,
Yep.
so we didn't, take too much time away from.
30-minute film on a weekend.
Yeah,
Lots of long shots in your film. I was going to bring it up. Like there's a lot of you let the scene and the actors kind of tell the story with your shot selection. But I just want to point out your first AD in the industry. So obviously your experience on set is pretty profound, to say the
yeah,
least. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I knew kind of what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Wait, this is your first film? Like this is the first one you directed?
Yes.
Uh, so I this is maybe I think maybe you're about the fifth person who's a very experienced industry first AD who's made their first short film. Kind of so it's a there seems to be a trend, or at least in my world, there's a trend. What finally propelled you to say, because obviously you've been on hundreds of sets.
Right.
What kind of said, okay, I'm gonna direct my first film.
Well, my wife would bring it up frequently.
Okay.
Um, and then and obviously we'd spoke about it because I talked to her about it when we first moved in together here. Um, but something kind of helped, because it was it was uh it was a struggle for me to, you know, because all the
Mhm.
questions that she had and the things that she wanted me to tell her about, it was hard to talk about sometimes, still carrying the pain of watching somebody suffer. So, needless to say, that took me quite a bit of time,
Yeah.
as in years. And then I was on a show, and we had a director, a female director who I really liked very much, but she was struggling with the scene, and I helped her, and and she was struggling with communicating with the particular actress who was older, and I helped her with that and got everybody calm and then designed what the scene would be. Um, and my second AD was watching. She needed to talk to me, but knew, things were a little on fire. So, and she said to me, "When when are you going to direct? You're doing it right now.
Yeah.
The director is struggling here, and you just came in and took over." And I'm like, I know, I know. So that night I came home and I talked to Sandra and I said, okay, I think I'm ready for us to, work on it and for Sandra to put it down on paper. And we talked about it and she said, maybe we ought to start with a short because we were going to personally finance it. So maybe we should start with
Yeah.
a short and see, how it's received and how you feel about it. Um, and so that's what we did. So
Yep.
it was, and I want to say that was almost 10 years. It was almost 10 years from the first conversation we had to when we finally made it.
Okay.
But I feel like I needed that time. I wasn't ready because there's some scenes in there that are exactly what went on in my
Yeah.
house. And it was tough. I definitely cried silently many times, and the focus pullers next to me just because everybody on the crew I've known and we've
Hmm.
known for a very long time.
Mhm.
Some of them knew her because my partner was an AD as well.
Okay.
So it was very, very personal. So but no one said anything. They just knew, okay, she's just having this moment because what we're watching is what really happened in their home. So, but I wanted to share what I learned and that you have to ask for help, and I did not.
Yeah,
And I'm really grateful that I'm even here because it was not good. But and I wanted to share that even the ones that aren't sick, you still need to ask for help. And
of
I,
course.
you know, so when I see people who are struggling in the way that I did, I kind of I get in there and I push myself to push them to, it's okay, you can call me. Um, and whatever it is you need, I'm going to show up. And even if you don't want me there, I'm still going to show up. And I actually did that for Teresa. She did not want me to come to the hospital, and I did anyway.
Yeah, because I told her to.
Yeah.
I said, if you don't go, you will be done.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what she said. She was there for you. You need to go. So,
Yeah.
and good thing she did.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that this film was therapeutic for you?
Completely.
Okay.
Completely. And even when it was completely done, um, my wife's mom was living with us. Um, and then my aunt, because my parents are deceased, my aunt, we fly her here, once a year to come and visit. She was here, and so we all watched it together, and it all affected us each differently. But we were all in tears when it was over, and then we all talked about how we felt, and that was the very first time that I realized I held back from even trying to direct because that was her dream, never mind.
Okay.
Never had the inclination that I wanted to direct. I mean, I didn't, the film business kind of just happened to me. I didn't really go to get in the film business. And it was really through her introduction to the film industry that I even got in and then was like, oh, this is a good fit for me. So I felt like I held back from moving in that direction because, well, she died and now I'm going to take over her dream. I felt almost like what do they call it? Survivor's guilt
Yeah.
that I felt. But that was the first time it ever entered into my mind after we sat there, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So
So this is kind of a like a I don't know what your spiritual ideology is, but did you feel her presence when you're making the film?
I want to say the bathtub scene, yes. As a matter of fact, we had scheduled to shoot that scene later, but we were doing something, and I walked into that bathroom, and we had no lights outside the window because it was like an older house, and we just didn't feel it was safe to put anybody out there with a light. But I walked in there, and there was the light just coming into that bathtub, and I was like, guys, we have to stop right now and go to the bathroom because this is it. And so we did that. But it was that moment, and it really, yeah, I was a little undone over there in the corner with my monitor. you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, and just little things, little things that made me feel like she's 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 happy that I did this.
Yeah. I bet she is.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's a very balanced story between the two characters. And I know you have the third, like basically between the two, the caregiver and the patient. Because at the beginning you think that, oh, she's so nasty to her and she's trying to help her. And then there's context to that, right? It's not black and white. There's like it's just it comes good. It kind of goes back and forth, and then you kind of see, which is hard to do in film, as you know, because you're on set all the time. You see these stories. it's hard to do kind of tell a more balanced story. Kind of have a story that has kind of two main characters and two perspectives on
Yeah.
something, right? And it's hard to do one. And you kind of did two in the film, right? And of course you had the mediator in between, kind of to tell that story. So when I was watching your film, I thought because as an audience you think it's going one way, and then it kind of like okay, there's reason for her nastiness, right?
Yes, yes. And one thing that we did not cover in the story is that she was on morphine a lot, and morphine can make you angry. It can make you
Yeah,
mean. So we didn't really explain that, but the thing that was really helpful in making this is also my wife's way of showing me that some of the choices that I made, I did it because I'm going to do this because it's just going to be easier for me, because it was so weighted, um, of knowing because I my mother passed away of lung cancer, as
yeah,
did my father. And so when she got her diagnosis, I already knew. She didn't, but I knew what was going to transpire.
yeah.
So it was already so heavy, for me. But part of that is, I did take away some of her, ability to do stuff for herself that she could have done for even longer. And I probably wouldn't have seen that had it not been from the
Yeah.
perspective, of my wife and the stories and the things that I would tell her. And she brought that to my attention because I didn't see it. But when I watch it, then it's, oh yeah. Oh,
I don't
so
want to sound morbid when I'm watching your film too. I'm like, if this happens to me, I'm not like my wife's not go. I'm not letting my life go through this. I'm gonna kill myself and like be done with it. And it's
yeah,
just to save people all this time and energy. She's gonna be pain. She's gonna be sad that I'm dead. So I might as well just do it. You know what I mean?
Right,
yeah,
right,
I
right.
don't
A
know if
lot of
that's
people feel
morbid,
that
but
way.
like it's just so
Yeah.
much anxiety and so much like pain.
yeah. And her particular type of cancer, mimicked rheumatoid arthritis. So only 10% of tumors do that.
Yeah,
And that's why it gets missed or misdiagnosed, which she was. But her pain level was through the roof, but not everybody experiences that, thank God. So it's a smaller portion of people that get that type of tumor. So
yeah.
it was,
So I just want to ask about the performances and the casting. That's there's that scene when she like tries to get up from her chair, and that's an amazing scene. I think he did it in one shot too. Just like that's just like that's tipping of the tip of the iceberg of like the great performances, but that one stands out the most. I'm curious about casting. Where did you find your three actors?
um, well, Latoya Luckett, I've worked with for a few years, so I've known her for quite a while. And then she ended up joining the cast of the show that I was doing right when we were
Hmm.
putting this together. And we've always had this really wonderful bond. She's a mom, we're moms.
Yeah.
And she's just down to earth, lovely woman. And so anyway, we were talking about it, and Sandra said, you know, you should talk to Latoya. And I was like, you're right. So one day on set, she was done for the day. We were doing a lighting setup. I pulled her into a set, where no one was around, and started to talk to her. And she was like, what are the dates, honey? And I was like, well, no, what are the dates? I'm gonna call my agent right now and block
Yeah,
out the dates. And so I said, great. So, and then I sent it to her, and then she was just blown away. She had no idea. And she was very excited. And then our other two young ladies, years ago, at this young man was a PA for me. Actually,
wow.
during the time that was working on Tyler Perry in 2007, and every Friday I worked from the chemo ward. So that was kind of the last real job that I had for a length of time, because I would turn down work because I had to be with her.
Hmm.
But anyway, this particular PA grown into a casting agent. And so I reached out to him and I sent him the script, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's like giving me flashbacks of that time, because that's when we met." Um, and so we talked to him about the script. He read it, and I told him, I said, I really need these two women to be um, authentic and close. I know when I see characters that are playing lesbians, and it's just, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. And so he said, okay, okay. So he spent some time, and then he started sending us, I think he sent us like 4 submissions.
Hmm.
And so we were going to do a table read with everybody here at the house and see, how we feel about it. And funny enough, our two characters were best friends, and we didn't know.
Oh,
They came on different days
Yeah.
to audition.
So, so once they realized they were reading, it just was magical. They were
Yeah.
so excited. Um, we did do a little a rehearsal here at the house because I wanted to talk about some of the scenes because I was still working on a show. So I had them come over to the house on the weekend, and so we could talk about it. And they were totally comfortable. They loved the writing, the whole idea. And so it was actually pretty seamless to get the 3 ladies.
Yep.
So
because they're fantastic, and obviously the one she has to appear to be sick, right? Which is frail, and she has to have a certain look to basically be convincing, right? And she was very convincing. So, and then did you so you said Sandra, you said you wrote the screenplay. Like, is
Mhm.
this what you do? You're a writer by trade? I know you have a novel coming out.
No, I'm a writer, producer, director. I started in the indie world
Okay.
when I was in New York. So I directed and produced and written several shorts, and then my big Hollywood break was to be the director's assistant on Fled with Kevin Hooks and Lawrence Fishburne and Stephen Baldwin. And that's where we met because I was the director's assistant. She was the QPA. So, and it just went on from there. And after that, I was Lawrence Fishburne's assistant. So I've been in this since, oh my God, 88 or something like that. But
Mm.
yeah. And I've just always written everything that I've ever directed or produced. So I've made sure that because she was working, actually the whole crew was working on
yeah,
the show that they were shooting. So I literally had to keep the ball rolling
Mhm.
as a producer and making deals
all the
and
contracts and all the
dealing with
equipment
SAG
and
and
everything.
all of that. So um it was quite a bit. Plus taking care of our 4 kids and my mom.
Oh, you
So
have 4 kids. Wow. Okay.
yeah, so
You're
we were,
busy.
and they were in middle school. So because I'm the mom that works from home,
Yeah.
being the writer and everything, but I was transferring them from one private school to another, and they were like in fourth grade, fifth grade, seventh
Yeah,
grade, and eight, and it was like plus my mom. And I was self-publishing the books that I have, the poetry books, and then the uh, book adaptations of some scripts that I've written. So it was a lot,
yeah.
but we did
Yeah.
it.
It
Yeah.
was it was a family affair. All the kids helped.
Yep.
My brothers and my sister helped.
My nieces came
Our
in
nieces came
from
in.
Arizona. It was
Oh, wow.
It was quite
It
a
was,
family affair.
it was, and it was great.
And then,
So,
like I said, all the people that were on the show, I have known almost the entire time I lived here.
mhm.
So it was really quite special. I had overwhelming support
Yes.
for equipment and even catering and craft serve. Everybody just wanted to help. So
Yeah.
it was
Because
quite
all
special.
the people that are on that little bulletin board in the therapy office,
Mhm.
that was the cast and the crew bringing pictures of family members who have died from cancer. So those were like, real pictures up there because my father died from pancreatic cancer. So everybody knew somebody, so everybody was invested in telling this story. So we were so blessed.
Yeah. Everybody that read it resonated with it in the way that you did,
Yeah.
because this is something that almost everybody will face,
Yeah.
Yeah.
either having to take care of or visiting or, or supporting or financially supporting,
Mhm.
a family member that's dying. So I loved one or a good friend.
Yeah. It needs to be a village. That's the message in your film.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's serious.
And people, even now, people are so afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Um, they will talk about it, but they don't actually do it.
Yeah.
So I really, even to this day, I do know why I didn't ask for help, because I'd been asking for help for so long for her that I didn't feel that, oh, well, I'm not sick. I don't
Mhm.
want to burden people anymore.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I was a hot mess. I mean, one day, 2 days in particular, after she passed, I was sitting on the side of the freeway, not knowing what am I doing? What like I had not like my whole world had just ended, or the world that, all the things that I thought I was going to do and where we were going to go, what we were going to gone. And then another time, I don't know, I did get a job. I was on a show and then continued to work. I pulled into my driveway, and my neighbor the very next morning opened my door. I'd sat there all night long. And Saturday morning, my neighbor Mike came over and opened the door and helped me out of the car and walked me into the house. But I just sat there. So just lost. So, and I still didn't, hey, Mike and Anna, would you guys come over and just watch TV with me? Just come into my house, And I didn't. So that's the message. I just want people to know it's okay. It's okay to ask for help, even if you're done. That person is gone. To kind of rebuild. I remember when Sandra and we reconnected over the phone because she lived in Los Angeles, and she asked me, "What makes you happy?" I have no clue. I had to like relearn and spend time with myself, to have even for any of that to come back. I didn't laugh, and she knows I can be very silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't exist. I mean, it was gone. And when she was going to move here, I didn't ask her to move here because I was afraid for her to be close to me. Because I was like, you're not going to like this person because this person is dark. And
Yeah.
and finally, my birthday, she came for 10 days, and it was special. And after that, she's like, I'm moving to Atlanta. And then it hit me, wow, I didn't even ask you. And why didn't I ask? Like I didn't, the whole process,
Mm.
I um, and she'd asked me to marry her. And I was like, well, we need to live together for 2 years because you might not like me, because I don't know if I can be the same person that you met. But we worked our way back to her.
Yeah. You did a test. You did like a test run, a marriage test run. Yeah.
We have to
I
try
think
to.
that's smart. I
So,
think, yeah, it's a smart choice.
yeah. I wanted to give her an out in case, like,
Yeah.
whoo, you changed and you didn't come back. But
That's
uh,
amazing. Well, I think you guys got the sequel to the film right now, your relationship,
Yeah, we
right?
do. We
Yeah.
do.
yeah, no, it's our our connection and our relationship
Yeah.
and what God had in store for us,
Right.
because it was very divinely ordained, just how the things worked and even how we met. And um, I just felt like, maybe I did a good thing by taking care of her, and He just blessed me and blessed us. And um,
Yeah, God is totally in it.
yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see this life that we have. I didn't see it. I never even,
Yeah.
I always used to tell my parents, you know, or my dad in particular, he'd always say, if you don't find what makes you happy, you're gonna have a heart attack and die. And it was like, you're right, Pops. You got to find what's so. I always just wanted to be happy. That was my goal. I want to be happy. I want to be, I want to spread joy. I want people to feel God's presence from me, through me. Um, that it's okay to live that way, you know. Um, so those are the stories we want to tell,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I want people
It's
to feel,
amazing.
yeah.
Well, on that note, I appreciate your guys' candor, your time. I know these are difficult conversations, and it's a great film. I really wish you the best with it. And you guys can just, if people are interested, they can even Google you guys on IMDb. Veronica,
Yep.
you have a list of, you got, I mean, that's another podcast. You probably have millions of stories to tell on your experience working on these films, but that's for another day. And I wish you the best and keep making films. I hope you can keep directing.
Well,
Keep doing it.
thank you
Right?
so much. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you. All right,
All right.
let's talk again soon when you make either or individually or together, you guys make your next film.
Okay. Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Take
Thank you.
care.